Hello and welcome to another session of Karen's Colours. I'm Dr. Karen and these are my colour conversations. It's that time again where we need to look at another colour reading for prediction purposes. Again, we're looking at birthdays, and if you're new here, then hopefully you'll come across something that you haven't seen before. Predictions using colour are quite different to those using tarot cards or the I Ching, for example. If you're a regular viewer, of course, then you know exactly what to expect. And I hope that this month, this upcoming month of July, will be a lot better for you than June was. Certainly, I hope it will be for me, because I do the things that I ask of you. I choose my colours and I incorporate them into my life as much as I possibly can. This month, I've chosen another Oracle card set. This one is called the Telepathy Oracle cards. Now, there's no information on them whatsoever as to where they came from, but I rather like them because of the messages that they give us. As usual, I've pre-shuffled the colour cards. Well, you could actually say I've pre-randomized them because I'm not much of a shuffler. And if you want to see that randomization process, there is a video called Shuffling for the Non-Shuffler that's in the playlist that you'll find this particular video under as well. This is a colour reading for people born in November for how July 2025 will pan out for them. Let's firstly choose an oracle card. We want an oracle card for people born in November to discuss how their July 2025 is likely to occur. Take that card and place it under here to look at the end of the reading. And now we want some colour cards to look at the journey of people born in November that takes them through July 2025. The energy that you bring into the month is red on white. The energy throughout the month is pink on red. And the energy with which you leave the month is cyan on black. And the underlying energy is cyan on grey. Very interesting. All right, you November people. You have two colours that are repeated in this reading. First one is red, which appears as the action in what it is you bring into the month, and then it reverts into the motivation that occurs throughout the remainder of the month. And then we have cyan, which appears as the action towards the end of the month, but it's also the action that is part of the underlying energy throughout the month. And then we have a third colour, which is rather, or third combination really, which is rather interesting, which is black and grey, both in the motivation sections. And black and grey are only different by degree. So let's see what this has to say. The underlying energy starts off with the grey internally as the motivator. There is a need here for developing some sort of new perspective out of the confusion, out of the uncertainty, and out of all of those things in your life that have caused you to stop and reflect and try and make sense of what's going on around you. In the real world, what have you done about this feeling is basically allow things to happen. You've sat quietly, you've sat and watched and observed. You haven't done much in the way of interfering or interacting with your environment or with the people around you. You've simply been a silent observer. And through that silent observation, you've enabled yourself to begin to develop a different way of looking at what is going on in your life. Over here, as the incoming energy, we have red on white. And just as black and grey have similarities in terms of what is going on internally, so too white and grey have similarities in terms of what's going on internally. White here, as the motivator, is one of shock. Something has enlightened you internally. You've suddenly come to the realization that there are things out there in the world that you have never even considered. And now, because of that shock, you have been awakened. There is something inside you that has required you to sit up and take notice. The underlying energy, of course, was having to deal with a way out of the confusion and uncertainty with which you have been dealing with your everyday existence. Now that shock that has created the energy that enables you to deal with this is actually what you brought with you into the month. So the shock is there, and as a result, you have created this need to understand it, to overcome it, to find your way through it, or the underlying energy of the need for clarity has suddenly happened as a result of clarity smashing its way into your unconscious. In the real world, what has happened for the incoming energy is red. It has made you extremely agitated, extremely active, maybe even extremely angry in the way in which you approach life. Red in the real world is always a warning that if you aren't careful, you can spill blood, and generally it's your own blood that you are spilling. So it's been a very tumultuous start to whatever it is that you brought with you from June into the start of July. Interestingly enough, red and cyan are opposites on the color wheel. And so what we have here is a swinging in your actions from between just shut up, do nothing, observe, wait for things to change, to no way, I am going to make whatever changes, whatever interactions I need, whatever interference I need to do, I'm going to do it because I can. This says wait, this says I'm moving forward. And so the underlying energy and the energy that you bring with you into the month are actually pretty much at cross purposes when we look at what you're actually doing. By the middle of the month, all of that active energy, that wanting to be in charge, wanting to spill blood, has now become part of your motivation. Now you are really absolutely chock-a-block full of energy internally. You could be filled with rage, you could be filled with desire, you could be filled with passion. Whatever it is, that red internally makes you have that energy of wanting to jump out of your own skin. You are so agitated, so activated that you want something to use that energy on. In the real world, however, what you've got is an extension of what you had back here. If we mix the red and white together, we end up with pink, and pink is exactly what will permeate the majority part of the month. Now, the interesting thing about pink and red together is that they have got to do with new life, with new fragile life. If you're female, there's every chance you might find yourself impregnated. Or, if you're male, find yourself developing a desire for something that will require a great deal of tender care and love in order to allow it to grow. It's an interesting concept because it arrives from this idea back here at the start of the month that there's been a clash of knowledge from the past that suddenly enlightened you to making you act out in some way, some passionate way. Now the passion has gone internally, and in the real world, you're finding yourself in love with something or somebody. The grey and the red together as the underlying motivators do, however, reduce that red in some way. Because when we add grey to any colour at all, it tends to dull it down. It quietens it down. So maybe there's not as much rage in that motivation as there could be. Maybe there is not as much passion as there could be. Maybe whatever the passion is, it has been reduced in some way and contained because of this underlying grey. You're looking at your passions, at your desires from a different perspective. The pink and the cyan, while not exactly opposites on the colour wheel, are pretty close to the red and cyan oppositions. So again, because they are both fairly energy-less energies, if there is such a thing, the pink says, I don't have the strength, I don't have the desire. The cyan says, I don't have the motivation. So between these, the pink and the cyan actually enables you to feel as though you just let things ride, let things happen in their own time, in their own pace, and everything will be okay. And it's a really lovely way of approaching life. But it doesn't stay that way. Because now this business of not doing anything to make things change, not taking on any new challenges, not being in a position of where you want to work hard towards a new goal, it's now been taken over by this feeling internally that, hey, things haven't gone quite the way that you wanted them to. You've had to go back into a withdrawal stage. Maybe the passions that were unleashed over here turned out to be not such a good thing after all. Maybe it was a fly-by-night passion that got you all excited and starting to do something that you had never tried before, or it was a bit of a shock. Maybe it was too much of a shock. And now you are withdrawing entirely. Instead of being here, suddenly aware of something that's come in from the outside world, now you are becoming aware of what's happening on the inside world. So whatever you've done here, the consequences are now hitting hard home. And in the process of hitting home, they're also causing you to stop and take note and re-establish your footing before you proceed further into the world. So let's have a look at what the colours are that are missing, because this reading is one that has warnings as well as lots and lots of good fun available to you. You have black, you have white, and you have red. There's no yellow, there's no green, there is no blue. You don't have brown or orange, but you do have grey. There's no purple. Whoops, let's try this again. But you do have pink and you do have cyan. So looking at these colours here, we find that they are the ones that you are using throughout the month of July. And for better or for worse, they encompass quite a variety of things that you are capable of doing. What you're not doing are the colours over here, the yellow, the green, the blue, the brown, the orange and the purple. Now, is that because you can't do them or you don't want to do them? Well, we don't really know. But these ones hold the key to whatever it is that will enable you to travel through the month with the least amount of negativity that can possibly occur by the end of the month. So yellow is all about learning something new. It's about putting on a happy face, putting on the optimism that's necessary to make things look as though they are better than they really are maybe, but also to make you feel as though things are not quite as catastrophic as they seem. Green is about heading off in new directions, but also having a change of heart. What do you actually value? And are you following those values? Blue is about duty and responsibility and getting things done in a timely manner. Brown is about establishing yourself as a person who is able to make their own choices, do the work that needs to be done, keep your plans and your motivations and your desires and ambitions in a single direction. Orange is about being able to face and overcome crises, and purple is the ability to heal from any sort of catastrophic change that may occur as a result of the choices that you make in your transit through the month of July. As usual, choose the one colour out of these 6 that is most appealing and the one colour that is least appealing, and then incorporate those into your life. And when you do so, you'll find that your journey through July will probably not end up as depression as a result of inactivity, but could just be, I'm in touch with myself, with my inner self, and now I feel as though I am whole. Let's have a look at what the Oracle has to say on the subject. Ooh, interesting. 2 cards. I'll take them both. They are firstly time and secondly confusion. Looking at time first. Let time forget those scars. Time is what you have when you draw your attention inwards and examine your past and also how you feel about life. As far as confusion is concerned, all seekers of truth will experience confusion. Ask the universe to provide the answers that you need. And once again, it brings us to the confusion, which is inherent in the grey, and the asking your inner self for guidance, which is inherent in the black. Very timely oracle cards. I don't normally get 2 pop out. I wonder what your life is about to bring you that requires a double message. So, lots to think about this month, don't you agree? I hope that the colours that you choose will be of benefit to you, and hopefully the colours that have been chosen for you will help to clarify some of the experiences that you will be undergoing in the month of July. Until we meet for the next colour reading, may the colours that you choose guide you and help you along the way. Until next time, bye.